Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Today is a special day today. I wanted to share that I wrote my first book, and I wanted to take this time and use my platform to read the book and record what I read out loud and have it for other people to listen to later so it is accessible. So I'm so glad you're here today and that we're hanging out. And thank you for taking the time to be part of this space with me. Um, a little bit of brain fog, and that's just my reality. So if something it doesn't make sense or if I'm a little slow, it's because of the brain fog. And I'm sure if you also have long COVID, you are familiar with that too, so you would understand. But for those that don't have brain fog, you'll get to see what it's like in live action, real time. Anyways, I'm gonna give everyone some time to join because it's like 11 a.m. PST here, and it is 2 p.m. EST, so people will be joining. In the meantime, please write where you are from. I'd love to see where you are from, and I also like saying hi back. If you're watching this later too, please comment because I also like to say hi to everyone. So, yeah, about this book. You're probably wondering why I wrote this book called The Collapse. And I wrote it because there are 400, there are over 400 million people around the world living with long COVID, according to the WHO. And, a lot of us, we feel really invisible. I was one of them for sure. I was gaslit, my pain was minimized. I was told it was all in my head, but my life was falling apart. All of my blood tests, they were inconclusive. So I wrote this book because I didn't want people to feel alone, and I also wanted them to feel seen, heard, and validated. I wanted people to know that they're also not imagining it because let's be real here. Long COVID is a new thing, a new post-viral illness that happened from this new virus. And so there's not a lot of information out there. So of course people are going to tell us it's all in our head, but we have to push back. We have to push back and say it is not in my head, it is in my brain. Okay, it's affecting my brain, it's affecting my whole body, and here are the facts. So this book is really just my story of surviving, um, how I got through it, about gaslighting, and how you can start finding hope so you can move forward yourself to get the treatment that you need. Because I find if you're very discouraged and you don't have the strength to talk to doctors, to find treatments, you're not going to be able to do any of that. So this is what this book is about. It's to empower people so they can move forward. And also, I'm excited to share I'm already halfway through writing book 2. And what did I call it here? The title is called The Restoration. And the the concept of the book is what comes after the collapse. So I guess I should just say it. I'm planning on writing a whole book series and making them short and digestible with bigger print so people with brain fog and low energy can read it and not feel overwhelmed. And like having smaller books psychologically, when you finish one book, when you are in chronic illness, you feel so confident, and you feel a little bit more like accomplished that you could finish a book. So I made them in smaller sections so that way psychologically us chronic illness people can feel like, yeah, I did it. I didn't leave that book half done. So there was that. Back to book 2, the restoration. It's, what happens after the collapse, and really it's focused on restorative rest, pacing, even if you're neurodivergent, I put that in there too. Essential lifestyle shifts, all of these little things, like the foundational things that allow you to heal. Um, So even if you are on medication, you still need the lifestyle shifts. And my doctor said, he was like, you can do all the meds, all the treatments in the world, but if you are not pacing, said think about it this way. Pacing is the cake, the treatment, medication is the icing. If you're not pacing, you have no cake and you just have a pile of icing and you won't have a chocolate cake. So that really stuck in my head, that the lifestyle changes that I wrote in the book are the foundation to helping you succeed in treating this chronic illness. And sometimes like when you're in chronic illness, the best thing to do is to be calm and to let that dust settle as well. So that way you know what you're treating, because if you're on and everything's just like all over the place, you're going to have extra symptoms that are caused by being on. I hope that makes sense. So, if the collapse is about surviving, finding hope, getting through medical gaslighting, the restoration is about rebuilding, with intention, with self compassion, for your body and working with your body. If this story resonates with you, please feel free to check out the Collapse on Kindle. I'll put the link on there. I do make it free every 90 days because let's be real here, us chronic illness people, we maybe I should turn off my little robot. Us chronic illness people, we don't sometimes have the means to be paying for resources all the time. So every 90 days, I make it free on Kindle because that's what the program allows me to do. And the next cycle is August 18th, August 22nd, 2025. So if that is something that you're wanting to do, mark it on your calendar and you can get it for free. But in the meantime, it is $4.99 on Kindle. And I'll put the link in the bio and in the description. And also, if you'd like to stay updated on the restoration when it's going to be done, please subscribe because I'd love to have you follow along. And I'll be doing book readings from all the books on here. So that way you can just listen to it. You know, yeah, it can be lonely. And I wrote this book because I wanted people to know that they're not alone. You are not alone. And this is just the beginning of a new life. A new life and new hope. Let me just turn off my vacuum because it's annoying me. Sheet bubbles. Let's pause you. All right. Thanks for waiting. Okay, let's get back into it. So I'm going to read the author's note, the introduction, and chapter 1, if I can get through that today. The Collapse. Finding Hope During the Early Stages of Long COVID, Book 1 in the Reclaiming series. There'll be 4 books and a workbook by me, a low energy brain fog friendly guide. Oh, yeah, another reason I wrote it is because a lot of things are so medical and clinical, but with brain fog, big words with like lots of syllables hurt your head. Okay, anyways, let's keep going. This is just the title page. Table of contents. It says a note from the author, introduction, chapter 1, the day everything changed, what happened to us. Chapter 2, what is long COVID, ME, CFS, dysautonomia, and others. Chapter 3, smiling through the storm, living and grieving with invisible illness. Chapter 4, gaslighting, disbelief, and misdiagnosis. Epilogue, the first glimmer of hope, coming soon, book 2, the restoration from survival to healing, about the reclaiming series, and references. I put references there too because I wanted to make sure it was, if you wanted to find the sources, you can. So here we go. A note from the author. This book is intentionally short, low energy friendly, and written with brain fog in mind. I know what it's like to stare at a wall of text and feel completely overwhelmed. That's not what you'll find here. You'll find short, relatable chapters, emotional survival strategies, and the validation you've been searching for. This isn't a textbook or a medical manual, it's a conversation, a hand to hold through the most challenging moments. You don't have to read it all at once, and you don't have to finish it in order. Come as you are, take what helps, and know that this is only the beginning. The bigger, more detailed recovery tools await you in books 2, 3, and 4. But for now, just breathe. You're already doing enough. If you get the paperback, I put some space for you to write some notes. Introduction. Hi, I'm Kathleen, but please call me Kiki. I want to share a little bit about the title of this book because it marks a defining moment in my life. After contracting a virus, everything I worked so hard to build suddenly crumbled. With a high ACEs score, I'd already faced more than my share of challenges, all while fighting to rise above my circumstances and create a better life. I had spent years bravely confronting my past, healing old wounds, and building the life I dreamed of. For a while, I was winning. I was on track to finish my BSc in physics, actively training with the International Institute for Astronautical Sciences, and even considering a PhD. I was learning Spanish for fun, studying mechanics, and feeling grounded and whole for the first time. My dream of becoming an astronaut wasn't just about the title, it was about contributing to discoveries that could help humanity. Then, in August 2023, I caught COVID 19. It felt like everything I'd built collapsed overnight. The life I cherished and the future I'd carefully planned seemed to vanish. My health, independence, and dreams all put on indefinite hold. In the wreckage of that moment, I couldn't help but wonder, maybe the universe wasn't closing a door, but opening a new one. Perhaps I was meant to write this book to reach out and help others walking this same uncertain path. Because right now, what we need isn't just new technology, we need connection. We need to feel seen. This book is the first in a four-part series exploring how life changes overnight when illness hits. It shines a light on the hidden struggles of post-viral illness, the misdiagnosis, the gaslighting, the grief, the isolation, and ultimately the hope. I wrote this series with people like us in mind, those living with long COVID, ME/CFS, and dysautonomia, those navigating life with a brain fog so heavy it feels impossible to read, those exhausted by the fight for validation. As a science student, I dove into academic journals and medical research so you don't have to, distilling it all into clear, compassionate guidance that's low energy friendly and easy to understand even on your hardest days. In the depths of my own struggle, I attended over 70 webinars. So now it's 80, 80 plus, and sifted through academic research. Not because I had the energy, but because I was desperate for answers. I'll share what I learned throughout this series at a pace that honors your capacity and meets you exactly where you are. Because sometimes survival requires a sense of humor. You'll find that here too. We might laugh, cry our way through it, but we'll keep going together. The emotional arc of the series unfolds like this. Book 1, The Collapse, Validation and the First Glimmers of Hope. Book 2, The Restoration, Rebuilding the Foundations of Health. Book 3, The Rising, Expanding Strength and Emotional Resilience. Book 4, The Reclaiming, Finding Joy, Identity, and a Future You Can Love. Each book builds on the last, but you're free to skip ahead if a particular theme speaks to you. So, dear fellow long hauler, welcome. Picture us having a cozy chat over coffee, trading hard won insights, and reminding each other that even in the darkest moments, we are not alone. I promise to keep things simple, relatable, and above all, hopeful. This journey isn't just about science, it's about us, our stories, and how we can gently, bravely reclaim our lives. Let's explore this together. Okay, chapter 1, the day everything changed. What happened to us? You don't notice the moment life changes until You're standing in the wreckage, wondering how you got there, how I went from feeling untouchable to completely unraveled. Enough is enough. That day is etched into my memory like a haunting echo. I lay on that cold floor, dizzy and disoriented, swallowed by darkness, with noise canceling headphones pressed against my ears and an eye mask shielding me from the relentless light. Even the air hurt against my skin. With my eyes clamped shut, sunlight still found its way through every crack, harsh and unforgiving. The light felt like fire. The fridge's hum, the trickle of water through the pipes, the creaks of the house, and distant traffic outside merged into a definite, suffocating chorus. For what felt like forever, I had fought against insomnia. No supplement, medication, or guided visualization could unlock the deep restorative sleep I desperately craved. Was this just exhaustion from sleepless nights, or was something more sinister unfolding? I struggled to breathe. My chest felt unbearably heavy, and in a moment of desperation, I wished I could take off my own skin or even remove my breast implants to ease the crushing pressure. Curled on my side, my heart raced violently, pounding against my ribs, and I wondered if this was how my life would end. And then there was the heat. Why was I always burning up? A low grade fever clung to me like a second skin. My once sharp mind felt fogged and unreachable. Words slipped away like sand through my fingers. Comprehension became a distant dream. Conversations drifted above me like clouds I couldn't grasp. Even music, my mental comfort blanket, became unbearable noise, clawing at the edge of my sanity. My limbs pricked with electric sensations, heavy and immobile. Taste and smell faded into forgotten memories. Inflammation raged through my body, radiating pain from the depths of my bones. My muscles locked up, my joints ground painfully against one another, and my jaw clenched under a weight I couldn't release. A migraine took up permanent residence, an unwelcome house guest who refused to leave. My body became a battleground. Diarrhea struck every few hours, replaced by torturous constipation. Rashes bloomed across my skin, despite barely stepping outside. I felt as if I was battling a sunburn in the dead of winter. My mind was fogged. My body was foreign. I couldn't remember how to be, how to exist without effort, without pain. This wasn't me. This wasn't my life, and yet this was my life, my new reality. Just months before, I had felt untouchable, free, alive, powerful. And then I put a little dot to say it's a new scene. And it goes, 7 perfect days. That's all it took to mark the end of the life I knew. We were paddling through Desolation Sound, BC, the sun warming my skin as my kayak cut through glassy waters. Each stroke felt like meditation in motion. My body was strong, unstoppable, I thought. We camped under endless starry skies, swapping stories to pass the time with the scent of dried bark in the air and salt water on our skin. When waves rose tall enough to capsize me, my kayak and I became one. We jettisoned across the swells like a speedboat, and the thrill of the ride matching the confidence in my body. And after the long paddles, I still had the energy to climb the rocky mini islands to swim in the warm 23-degree waters just for the joy of it. In those moments, I wasn't just healthy, I was thriving. My physical training was paying off. I was about to finish my BSc in physics, brushing up on calculus through the Brilliant app during the trip, and preparing for the September semester. I was learning mechanics and coding for fun, dreaming of a PhD in astronaut training because why not both? I lived in a body that could do anything. What I didn't know then, and what none of us did, was that somewhere between those shorelines and ferry rides, something invisible and ruthless had already begun rewriting my story. Now, lying on that cold floor, I couldn't fathom how far I had fallen. Just existing felt impossible. That's when it hit me. No amount of waiting would fix this. Inside my head, I was screaming, "What is happening to me?" And then something snapped. I could no longer ignore the chaos. If I wanted to survive, I had to fight. The long road to diagnosis. In October 2023, I had my first checkup at a walk in clinic via Zoom. I listed every symptom: insomnia, relentless exhaustion, mental fog swallowing me whole, all the physical dysfunctions. The doctor dismissed it all, blaming hormones or seasonal changes. I thought to myself, is this because I'm a woman? I begged for something, anything, just to help me sleep. They cautiously wrote me a prescription for sleep medication. They ran an EEG and ordered blood work. Everything came back normal. By March 2024, I was worse, much worse. This time, I didn't just ask for help, I demanded it. I laid out my before and after like evidence in a courtroom, undeniable and damning. During my second Zoom appointment, I said to the doctor firmly, before, I was walking 10,000 steps a day without even breaking a sweat, biking 60 kilometers for fun, training to extend my 5K runs to 10Ks, swimming 1.5K, no problem, and I was nearing the completion of my BSc in physics, learning mechanics and coding on the side, purely for the joy of it. After, I'm now breathless, just lying in bed on my side. Reading a single sentence gives me a headache. Communicating my ideas verbally, yeah, that's difficult. I could sense him thinking. Then I pressed harder. Now, you tell me, does that sound normal? Does that sound like hormonal changes or seasonal changes to you? I am not me, and it is obvious. Even a child would know this isn't normal. And worse, it's all getting worse. That March day was the day I took my power back. At last, they listened. I was referred to a long COVID clinic, but my appointment wouldn't be until August. In the meantime, I refused to waste the waiting. The long COVID clinic offered sessions I could attend while waiting to see the specialist. I devoured every class, workshop, and webinar I could sign up for. I couldn't get prescriptions yet, which required my one on one appointment with the specialist, but still, I gathered every scrap of actionable knowledge I could find: lifestyle changes, supplements, experimental treatments, anything that might even offer the faintest flicker of hope. Despite my fogged mind and battered body, I unearthed a new purpose: to learn everything I could and share it with others who were too sick to fight for themselves. My frustration became a driving force. I refused to let this stillness define me or leave others suffering in silence. At first, I lived in denial. I thought if I just tried harder, slept more, ate better, and meditated longer, this nightmare would end. But it didn't. My dreams, once racing toward the future, came to a screeching halt. How could I become an astronaut if I couldn't even string two words together? How could I train when taking a deep breath felt like climbing Everest? Becoming an astronaut wasn't just a dream, it was a mission. I wanted to challenge myself mentally and physically, to be a role model for girls of color, and contribute to research that could possibly improve lives here on Earth. Now, I struggled to walk to the bathroom, a difficult 25-step round trip. I was furious. Furious at the virus, enraged at the researchers I blamed for letting it escape, angry at the world for letting it happen. But eventually, even my anger had nowhere left to land. The truth was undeniable. The COVID virus escaped, and it was a global, messy, inevitable process. This wasn't personal. So I cried endlessly for days, mourning the person I had been, the woman who was nearly finished with her degree, yearned for her private pilot's license, and dreamed of a PhD in physics. I'd finally found joy and stability, only to watch it all vanish. My grandmother's words echoed in my mind: Kathleen, nothing is guaranteed. Life is like a sandcastle at the ocean's edge, constantly shaped and reshaped by the tides. The diagnosis. On August 1st, 2024, 10:10 a.m. PST, I finally sat through my long-awaited specialist appointment, praying that it would be as bad as I feared, that it wouldn't be as bad as I feared. But when the diagnosis started rolling in, each one felt like a hammer striking down. Myalgic encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue syndrome, ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, dysautonomia, hypo and hyperadrenogenic POTS, possible mast cell activation syndrome. The doctor spoke gently but firmly, as if trying to soften the inevitable blow. I recommend you apply for provincial disability assistance, he said, including federal support and a disability parking pass. I interrupted, still clinging to the last frayed threads of denial. Do I really need a parking pass? He didn't hesitate. Yes, walking is physical energy. This disease, unfortunately, it steals energy from you. I also recommend applying for the disability tax credit through the CRA. All the resources you need are on our website. And that's when it hit me. It really was that bad. The world seemed to zoom out at that moment, like I was watching my life happen to someone else. The doctor's voice echoed, each diagnosis landing with a strange mix of devastation and relief. At least now there was proof I wasn't imagining this. As the words settled, so did the reality. There was no quick fix, no clear way back to the person I'd been. This was the starting line of the road I never asked to walk, and I had no map for what came next. The immediate impact on my life. Let me be very clear. I've made peace with my circumstances. I'm no longer trapped by depression, and I've accepted my new limitations. From this place of acceptance, I'm committed to rebuilding my life, and remarkably, that act in itself is progress. The worst days of long COVID. During my darkest days, I felt imprisoned in my own body. Breathing became a monumental task. Simply existing was overwhelming because every autopilot behavior I had ever learned just vanished. Brushing my teeth transformed into an exhausting, complicated mental checklist. Flossing, something that used to bring me joy, became impossible. Each tooth felt like a separate decision, and my arms were fatigued after one tooth. Getting dressed. Did I remember to put on pants? The impacts on every part of my life. Physical. I had no energy whatsoever. My world shrank to the distance between my bed and the bathroom, a mere 25-step journey. Emotional. I spiraled into deep depression and suicidal thoughts. I mourned the life and identity I had lost, battled anxiety about the future, and carried guilt and resentment like heavy burdens. Social. Isolation became my reality. Even stepping outside felt like a logistical nightmare. Intellectual. My mind felt foreign. Reading and following simple stories seemed impossible. Spiritual. I felt abandoned by the universe, but clung to the hope that nothing lasts forever. Thank you, Sarah, for this reminder. Occupational. My sense of purpose faded away. Even threading a sewing needle felt insurmountable. Environmental. My living space reflected my mental state chaotic, cluttered, dusty, and neglected. Financial. My savings dwindled rapidly. I found solace in delivery pizza and easy meals that required no decisions. But it did not stay that way. This was the darkest chapter of my long COVID experience, but it wasn't the end. The worst of it lasted 6 months, and slowly, so painfully slowly, things began to shift. Physically, now, I'm learning to pace myself and truly listen to my body. Emotionally, I've embraced the coexistence of life's hardships and joys. Socially, I now know who is genuinely there for me and who never was. Intellectually, I've learned to appreciate my mind like never before. Spiritually, I trust the universe has a plan even if it's not what I originally envisioned. Occupationally, perhaps my purpose isn't the astronaut dream I once chased, but to help others in a more direct way. Environmentally, I'm creating a nurturing space that supports me no matter what challenges lie ahead. And financially, I'm grateful for my savings I had during those times, and now slowly I'm rebuilding. This experience didn't break me, it reshaped me. While I wouldn't wish this journey on anyone, not even those who don't believe in long COVID or COVID 19, I'm emerging from it stronger, wiser, and far more intentional about the life I'm creating. The day everything truly changed. It wasn't the day I got sick. It wasn't the day I collapsed on the floor in despair. It was the day I fought back. Until then, I had waited, passively hoping things would get better. But that March day, I picked up the phone and demanded help. That was the day I reclaimed my power, not a return to my former life, but a return to myself. And that's a fight I'm still winning. One breath, one step, one day at a time. Reclaiming my power felt like a triumph, but the harsh truth settled in fast. I didn't even know what I was truly up against. What exactly was happening to my body? Why did my symptoms cross every line of neurology, cardiology, and immunology with no clear answers? If I wanted to survive this, I had to do more than fight. I had to understand the enemy. And that, my friends, is the end of chapter 1. I'm starting to get a little bit tired because I have brain fog. If you have any questions, I will definitely answer them. Write them in the comments and I'll come check later. And I will continue off where I left off. And the next time I do a reading, it will be chapter 2. What is long COVID, MECFS, and dysautonomia? I've also written different things in here like post COVID diabetes, which is a lot of people don't realize that they've gotten afterwards. Um, So I'm excited to read the next chapter to you. And chapter 3 is Smiling Through the Storm, Living and Grieving with Invisible Illness. And chapter 4 is Gaslighting, Disbelief, and Misdiagnosis. So hopefully you enjoyed that reading. And I will add chapters to the description later. So that way, when you do come back, you don't have to listen to the introduction again. You can go straight to the author's note, introduction, or chapter 1. So you can go to where you want. And hopefully, YouTube puts captions on this. So if you want to listen and read along, you can. Anyways, thanks for joining me. And this book is on Kindle now, and it is free August 18th through the 23rd of 2025. And before then, I should have book 2 done and ready to go. Okay, well, I hope you guys have a good day, and thanks for joining me.